everyone. Okay, so right out of the gate, it's revealed that Pino is the traitor, but indirectly so, as Ziggy had been spying on the crew by hacking into Pino's data this entire time. And honestly, this makes way too much sense, not only in the obvious context of the fact that Ziggy made her, but when looking back on how she first met the crew and combine that with what we know now about how time displacement, how just the whole multiple universe thing, all that stuff works, and just where we are in the story. This reveal does paint a picture of just how much Ziggy had been manipulating the events in the story. Like this chapter is basically saying that Ziggy is the one who displaced Pino into the Norma of the past, replacing the money that was supposed to be in the briefcase with her. And it makes sense he'd do that because he is Shiki of the future, so he would know the perfect moment in history where he could monitor his past self the closest, and or where he could at least start to do so. With that said, though, Pino said with knowing this information, Pino said she discovered a record in her data that would be the key to defeating Ziggy. And if I had to take a shot in the dark, it probably means Pino has discovered some kind of failsafe with her power that can stop Ziggy, and it's probably something that also ties back into what exactly her name of being the Light of Eden means. But at the same time, if this does succeed, I have a very unnerving feeling and suspicion that Pino is not making out of this arc alive. Almost like everyone, it feels like a kind of reverse of what happened in Future Shiki's world, where everyone pretty much died except her, and I think everyone in this timeline could survive, but I think Pino might have to sacrifice herself in order to make that possible. And even then, I don't know if it's going to be enough in order to stop Shiki, honestly. So, I don't know how many fans of Pino there are out there, but you might want to start soaking in every moment with her that you can, because this could be the start of her final moments in the series. Which, if that does end up being the case, can I also say that the one golden rule that Mashima has really executed amazingly in this story is how to utilize a mascot character. It's one of those, I hate to keep comparing to Fairy Tail, but for me he was kind of on the right track with Happy and Fairy Tail with this, but Happy's relevance to the story kind of dropped after the Edelus arc, whereas here Pino's whole arc revolves around the entire journey we've been on now, and just her whole story basically revolves around being with the crew and how she has developed and grown alongside them. So when we learn that she's technically the traitor, it does hit hard. She becomes just as much as part of the crew as everyone else has, and even if her being the traitor isn't necessarily her own fault. Now, there is definitely a valid question of why she didn't realize Ziggy was using her to spy on the crew sooner, and based off what Pino says in the chapter, it sounds like Ziggy was very subtle about how he conducted himself when spying on everyone, so he hadn't hacked into her data long enough for her to even notice. Ziggy at that time was just kind of a blip on the radar, at best, so to speak. But yeah, I just really love how Pino practically ties everything together in a way where it doesn't diminish her development or the journey she's taken with the others, but while at the same time still pretty much making sense within context of okay, this is the reason why Shiki and Shiki Weiss and Rebecca had found her in that briefcase on Norma and all that. It's tying everything into the story together, but still making the development matter, I guess. And like she genuinely cares for them and wouldn't do anything to potentially hurt or betray them, and I like how she is using that information to fight back. With all that being said, though, let's talk about the other major reveal, which is that Cure is that Holy basically finds Cure guarding what I can assume to be the area that houses Crow's core, and there's a couple different possibilities here. One is that we're gonna find out he's an absolutist, so even if Crow is destroyed, he wants to make sure the Eden Zero crew dies along with him. He doesn't care if they're helping to stop, if the Eden Zero crew is helping to stop Crow and Ziggy. To Cure, there's no difference between Crow, Ziggy, or Shiki. They're all criminals, and wants to ensure they're all killed, captured, whatever. That's my first thought. But the fact that his first line of dialogue is that he's surprised to see Holy made it this far, kind of has me leaning slightly more in the direction that he's either Crow's or Ziggy's man on the inside, so to speak. He served as a member of the Interstellar Union Army from the outset, but has been one of their one of Crow or Ziggy's operatives in secret, which I'm not sure how I'd feel about that one if it does end up being the case, because while it would make sense narratively, neither have we really gotten any characterization with Cure either. And the characterization is kind of key to me, because characterization to me gives us an idea of what a character is like, their quirks, their little ticks, all that, and the little stuff you can kind of pick up on as to whether or not that they're actually as to where their sort of allegiances lie. Characterization gives little clues like that can say, okay, can we expect this person to be a traitor or not? And with Cure, for me to care, and for me, because we haven't really gotten any characterization with Cure, I haven't really been given a reason to care about his betrayal, and maybe that's the point, that he's so emotionally disconnected that he served perfectly for both sides. But yeah, Cure as a character just isn't interesting enough for me to care if he does turn out to have betrayed Holy, the Interstellar Union Army, all that. Now, or I shouldn't say it's Interstellar. Now, maybe it's neither of those and he's really just here to help, but honestly to me that is the least likely of the scenarios, and I'm leaning more on the other two options, frankly. And yeah, a nice little tidbit we learn is that it was Clean who convinced Jean to help Holy out because of her past and what happened to her and her sister, which, although it is a little corny and cheesy, I do like how it is those sibling bonds that kind of tie their stories together in a way, and how Jin and Clean have known their own tragedy just like Holy has. The only difference is that Holy lost her sister, whereas Jin and hopefully Clean are still alive in a manner of speaking. They were just the only, with Jin and Clean, they were just brutally traumatized by a mad scientist fucker. So yeah. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.